Hi, hello, yes, it's time. After a year, more than a year, I am returning to manga reactions and manga as a whole. I took the entire year off from reading manga. I made a video about it. If you search on my channel for manga hiatus, you can hear me break down exactly why I took a break and what I hope to get out of it and blah 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 blah. But as for why I'm returning to it, well, I've been going through a really rough time in my personal life. And around the same time, I started hearing, oh, One Piece is getting really, really crazy right now. Things are really heating up. And I thought, okay, well, what better time than when you're stressed and when you're going through some emotional stuff and having to make hard decisions to return to something that has been a comfort to me for over half my life now. Something that I had really internalized as like a constant in my life, something that I can return to week after week, and it'll always excite me and bring me delight and suspense and speculation. Why not reintroduce that into my life? And it worked wonderfully. I had such a lovely time getting caught up on all the chapters I had missed. I actually reread the entire Wano arc in anticipation, and then went through about maybe 40 new chapters since I had stopped. And holy crap, it is indeed getting really insane, getting super intense. I'm amazed that Wano is still not over. When I started hearing people talk about, One Piece is like going wild right now. Like, oh my gosh, the bombshells are flying. I would see the latest chapter always trending on Twitter and stuff. Um, I thought, oh, probably Wano just ended. And now they're in that like between arc transition thing where they're going around and checking up on the world, and there's like tons of bombshells and revelations and story hints and stuff. But no, and it's actually somehow even crazier than that, and it's all happening within Wano. So I don't know, what can I say about these last 40 or so chapters? It's mostly fighting. And the fights are awesome. It was exactly what I wanted, where there's this blend of just total chaos happening all over Onigashima. People's fights bursting into one another, people handing off matchups to one another, just like Ain's Lobby, which I think, or the Whitebeard War is another great example of just the sense of like hugeness and chaos on all of these different fronts, and a real sense of like space. This was the most ambitious attempt at something like that yet, I think, even beyond the Whitebeard War, because they were still combining it, like Ain's Lobby, with like the one-on-one or 2v1 or like very small scale choreographed fights with like different phases and power-ups and stuff happening. They brought back the super, super hype narration that happens at the end of the fight, where the narrator just straight up says who won, which to me really signifies, that they're having these really meaningful, expansive 1v1 fights. So that was the exact blend I was hoping for, and I was really blown away. Lots of cool revelations too. Big power ups for Sanji, Zoro losing his friggin' mind fighting against King, who turned out to be a Lunarian, and Queen, who turned out to be a cyborg. Again, just Oda's ability to like hook in future plot developments in the midst of these like huge multi-chapter 1v1 fights. Then we got Kid and Law teaming up to take down Big Mom. That was super intense. And I always thought like, okay, we've seen a couple emperors fall in the past, or I guess really on camera we've only just seen Whitebeard. And Whitebeard, it was like he was sick, he was dying, he was an old man, and the person who took him down is probably like the final boss antagonist, Blackbeard, right? And his entire crew. So I thought, if we're gonna take down Big Mom or Kaido, it has to be at that tier. So I think even more than just the awesomeness of the fight, just the feeling of like, oh, they really are setting up Kid and Law to be like these super endgame relevant characters. That's exciting too, and certainly something I'm anticipating very happily. It was wild that CP0 got so involved. I thought for like multiple arcs after this, they would just be lurking in the shadows, just sprinkling a little espionage arc by arc. You'd see them in the shadows popping up. But no! And here they are just friggin' finger pistoling people, flailing around, fighting. On one hand, almost a little disappointing because their character designs were like so bizarre and so like evocative and mysterious that I was kind of down for the early theories of like, oh, you know, maybe they don't even fight using conventional ways. Like maybe CP9 is still actually the strongest fighting force. And CP0 is just on some other shit. And they have like weird devil fruit powers to help with interrogations or something, right? So to see them just straight up iron bodying and finger pistoling and doing all the other 6 powers, it was kind of like, oh, okay. But we never really got a chance to see their full metal either. So who knows? Who knows what other potential could lurk? I loved all the scenes where they're playing Go. They're using the Go stones to represent the armies and how like, even though the liberation forces were so outnumbered because of their positioning, because of the changing tide of battle, they were still like alive in Go terms. Thought that was cool. The fact that Otama, that's her name, right? Was able to convert all of the smiles and all of the gifters to swap sides was kind of hilarious. Again, just something like rereading Wano, that shows up like 2 or 3 chapters into the start of Wano, and it's like a joke that she's able to change Speed's side, the antelope gift user, and then there's like a, you know, they're trying to extract the mochi from her cheeks, and they're really trying to like, or I guess they're dumplings, abuse her power, and she's like, nah. And then it just kind of like fades away just long enough that you might forget about it, or like because it was so early days, you would never really consider just how relevant it could become. And then you're just like, oh shit, no, this is actually really important. Like half of Kaido's army just switched sides. So yeah, I really like that, and I think that's just really good arc writing in One Piece in general. Anyways, I'm just kind of flipping through chapter 143, which is the last chapter I read. Obviously, we're about to read chapter 144, which everyone has been freaking out about. The other reason I really wanted to get caught up is because I knew somehow, accidentally, I would get spoiled. And in my efforts to catch up, and I talking to people and going, yeah, I'm finally doing the catch up, I'm going to be up to date again, we can talk about One Piece again with like my One Piece reading friends. I did get spoiled! Presumably, if you're watching this video, you know, but Gear 5. Apparently Gear 5 is here, and it has something to do with Joy Boy. So, you know, this chapter ends with Luffy with a goofy grin on his face, and some sort of weird... This is like his Gear 4 muscles, I guess, are kind of like melting off of his body or something. And Zunisha showed up. And you gotta think, maybe... I think Kaido's already screwed, because Zunisha, I'm pretty sure, could just walk over and just like, smack the shit out of Kaido with his trunk. But obviously, Luffy is gonna be the one to actually settle the score here. Okay, I don't know. I feel like there was other stuff I wanted to cover in terms of like, oh, what did I think of the 40 or so chapters I marathoned in the last few days? If there are things you're like, oh, what did you think of this? Just leave me a comment and I'll be happy to talk about it. But honestly, right now I'm just so excited to read the new chapter. We gotta keep moving here. Okay, chapter 144. It is titled Warrior of Liberation. So we continue our Germa arc. A bunch of the mama siblings, ones that didn't come along to Wano, are doing some experiments on the Germa. And I know this is the Emotionless Excursion, but who is this? Niji? Or Yonji? The guy on the right here looks very pissed off. As well he should be. Pinned into the book with the book fruit powers, and now going to get sliced and diced for the Big Mom family science advancement. Okay. So, the Warrior of Liberation has to be Joy Boy. If we think about the Void Century... Okay, no. There's no point. Let's just get into it. No, I do want to have a theory. Okay, so... We know about Tequila Rose, the bridge where the world government has a bunch of people slaving away to build a gigantic bridge between islands for some reason. We know that that's been going on since the Void Century. I'm thinking the Void Century was a century of totalitarian takeover by the world government, where they squashed most of the country's individuality and brought them under this banner and forced them into slavery and announced that the celestial dragons were like the kings of earth and blah 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 blah. And I think it's like the reason that it's not as bad today, the reason that every state isn't like Tequila Rose, is because Joy Boy, this legendary like proto pirate, rose up somehow with Zunista, which maybe was just a little baby elephant at the time, and threw off the shackles of the world government and put things into this chaotic, multiple world powers state that it is. This is a very basic theory. This isn't anything controversial or a hot take or anything like that, but I think it's a safe bet. Okay. Let's just go on. What happened to me? Why can I still stand even though I lost? I'm having fun for some reason. Ah ha 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 ha. Okay. So there was a scene earlier. I really like this scene where Kaido and Luffy are fighting and they're really starting to push each other. And Kaido's drunk and he's going, I'm having fun. And Luffy's like, yeah, this is fun. And I remember thinking that that's like quite weird. Like usually Luffy clearly enjoys fighting and certain opponents he'll have a sort of like giddiness. But I think a good contrast is like when he's fighting Bluno at the start of Ain's lobby and he's like, yo, check this shit out. Look at how fast I can move. And then when he's fighting Rob Lucci at the end of Ain's lobby and he's like, if I don't beat you right now, you're going to kill all of my friends. And like all of that joy and excitement has drained out and he's just like, I'm going to kill you. But here with Kaido, even though the stakes are even higher, like not only will all of his friends get massacred, but this entire country will be weaponized and put into constant misery, even more than they already were. Luffy does allow himself to be like, yeah, this kicks ass. I'm so strong right now. And now, even though he's lost, even though he's like twitching on the ground, he's having fun. What the okay. Sanji wakes up. Kid and Law. Everybody, even people without observation haki, nothing like that. They know. Through means unknown, they know. Oh boy. Oh, we're cutting to Marie-Joie. There's no reason to copy. Whoa. Lost an elite agent and made Kaido angry. What was the point? What if I told you there's a potential future that would make us beg for this outcome? It's always better to eliminate dangerous variables. In every era, the world government has attempted to recover the gum fruit. Okay, I did really like when the former government guy, who was now in Kaido's forces, was like, yeah, dude, I was in big trouble. I lost the gum fruit. And just like, that one struck like a bolt out of the blue. Because since chapter 1, you knew, okay, Shanks has this devil fruit for some reason. We don't really know if it's like a big deal fruit or not. It certainly seems very useful for Luffy. But, you know, Oda has always said he just thought it was like a fun power. It didn't seem like it had like world-shaking relevance. And so I think it was forgivable to never really think like, oh, why did Shanks have that fruit? Why was he just sailing around with a devil fruit? What was he doing immediately before in the East Blue? Before coming to Luffy's village with this, like, no matter what devil fruit it is, that's insanely valuable loot. And now to know that this is, like, actually a big deal, like this actual fruit, it is though the devil fruit is trying to escape our grasp. And it very well might be. Zoan fruits contain a will of their own. Huh? This particular fruit has the name of a god. The other name of the gum fruit is the Zoan type human fruit, mythical type model Ninka. Possessing a body with the properties of rubber. and fighting whatever way he fancies, bringing smiles to the faces of the people. A warrior of liberation, also known as Nika the sun god, awakening his rubbery body, greater physical strength and freedom. It is said that in all the world. Okay, hold on. Okay, so a few things. Digging deep into my lore-addled brain and its endless depths of One Piece trivia. So Nika the sun god was actually evoked earlier this arc when Jinbei and I think the Fishman dude and the Kaido army was there, and they were talking about how, yeah, it was like they overheard Jinbei being tortured, and they were talking about Nika, the sun god, and they were talking about how the sun pirates took upon the sun symbol in reference to Nika, the sun god. Okay? So what does this mean? It must have something to do with like the super ancient societies, like, you know, the Lunarians and stuff too, because we know that they're quite religious, like they have sort of a religious foundation, but the world of One Piece at large is sort of atheist. Like they just tell you to worship the celestial dragons and worship the government and stuff. But there are a few notable examples. Kuma has his Bible. We don't really know what that's about. And then Sengoku, of course, has the human fruit Buddha model, right? Which, of course, is a real-world deity-esque thing. Buddhism, of course, doesn't really line up with like an Abrahamic god or a polytheist pantheon of gods. But Buddha, of course, certainly on that tier, I guess I would say. And then there's something very, very interesting that Oda said in an SPS once, that I think was before we learned about Sengoku's power, that someone said, what would happen if a human ate a human fruit? And Oda said, oh, they would achieve enlightenment. And then it kind of seemed like a joke at the time. And then later we found out that Sengoku had the human fruit model Buddha. And it seemed like even more of a joke, that Oda was just foreshadowing that as a joke. But now if we think that Luffy is similarly an enlightened people, he's also achieved some sort of transcendental enlightenment by eating a human fruit, and also receiving these like godly powers. Okay. There is no power more ridiculous. Okay. Meanwhile, Hiyori, who is Komurasaki, who is still alive? ? So we knew that it was always kind of sus that Komurasaki died because, of course, she was killed by one of the Ayazaki samurai. What's his face? Kyoshiro, who was deep undercover, biding his time, and probably did some sort of false swipe type, you're actually alive, but everybody thinks you're dead type thing. I don't know, maybe? Otherwise, maybe Orochi... No, it's not Orochi hallucinating, because he's receiving new information. My father upheld his promise. Did he not? He trusted in the deal that you made. Yeah, when he danced around naked for all those years. Father kept his word. He believed that you would free the people in the end. Stood 1 hour of your boiling cauldron. He withstood the searing burns of the bubbling oil, despite the smile that never left his face. He bore your torments all alone because the entire country was taken hostage. His suffering was unimaginable. Oh, she's trembling. Dude, Wano, man, maybe it's just because I reread it recently, but the number of like stories woven into it, I think, is so perfect for such a historic country, for a country that has been having all of these parallel annals of history to the rest of the world. And the way that like so many of them are becoming relevant right here at the end. Even stuff about, Zoro learning about the origin of his swords, how the exiled blacksmith from Wano had come to his village, and then using that to be able to like really harness the power of Enma and stuff. It's so deep. And I think the fact that we're learning all of these huge bombshells about the nature of Luffy and the Gum Fruit and Joy Boy and, the overall history of the world within Wano just is so appropriate. Doesn't it feel bad when everybody says mean things about you, Father? Because I have all of you. Yeah. Hold your tongue, you knave. Go for it. Fuck him up, Hiyori. No matter the growling of my empty stomach and the rags I had to wear, I never shamed my father's name. You were never the shogun, not for even for a single day. Wicked, foolish, and wretched. The worse you became, the greater the insult to the lives that were lost. Revenge is antiquated. It's behind the times. Oh, the Kanjuro. His final drawing into the flaming spirit that was meant to detonate Onigashima. Defeated by Based Yamato and his wacky team. Burn that woman to death. Hey! The failure of the woman's 20-year revenge. What kind of revenge is this? I thought you said revenge was passé. So this is interesting. In the end, Kanjuro... It's unclear if he really is trying to kill Orochi here. But clearly chopping Orochi's heads off does nothing. And he has the sea stone nails in him anyways. Kazuki Clan always keeps his promises. My heartbeat sounds so funny. Doom dot dot dot. It's like dong da da. It's hard to tell if those are yas or sus. It's definitely don da da da. Okay, what will Gear 5 be? So far we've had pumping blood through your rubber veins to increase your speed and punch and stuff. Then blowing air into your bones to make huge bone balloons for big devastating punches, which I still think is my favorite. And then blowing air into your muscles for Gear 4 to... I'm not sure what's happening with Gear 4, but to make yourself stronger somehow. Gear 5. Kaido so pissed off and probably just pissed, scouring around for Momotaro, even though everybody else is like, oh, Luffy's still alive. He instead is shocked. Only now does he sense this overwhelming power. That's Supreme King Haki? Yeah, you know it. So we learned a lot about Haki, and we learned about this idea of like as an upgraded armament Haki, you have like Supreme King armament Haki. And before Luffy was able to put this into like a punch, right? He's able to have like a little buffer of it around a punch right at the end. And then he can do the Raleigh trick of you hit them and they go flying without you even touching them. But now it seems like he can do anything with this power. He's got Supreme King Armament Haki on his Gear 3-esque big hand, diving through the ceiling and just grabbing Kaido. Look at this shot of him grinning. What is up with his hair? It's all like melty and swirly. Is he really becoming like a sun god? I feel like there's some Journey to the West stuff going on here too with sun gods. But I don't really know. That's something to research later. So he yoinks Kaido up through the ground. Kaido gets a face fault of his eyes pinging out of his socket. I love this. I love how all the way up until now, this is one of the most brutal fights. Just an outright slugfest between two of the greatest powers in the world. And now, the entire tone of it has changed so drastically. It's like, it's just wild. He's just gone insane. Oh, look at this! Look, he's Bowser throwing him! Oh my gosh. Dude with the super burly arms. Oh man. And this kind of speaks to like Kaido saying Kaido just gets drunk in the middle of their fight. And Luffy's like, "What the heck is this? Like I don't want you to be making excuses when I beat you." And he's like, "Why would I do this if it didn't make me stronger?" Kind of the like drunken master sensibility. Luffy's kind of drunk right now too. He's just drunk on joy boyism. There's an interesting parallel there. This is so wild. Wow. This is amazing. This is like when Majin Buu started fighting. Do you remember that? Do you remember how fresh that felt? Just how like it felt like the potential of everything just like exploded open with the way that Majin Buu differed so much from Cell. It's like that. Look at that. Look at how it's like Tezuka fighting too. This goes like all the way back, just in terms of presentation and stuff. In terms of like the feeling of like anything is possible. Just this shot of Luffy ripping up the ground which is rubber, of course, because he's also like awakened his powers like Doflamingo did. When Doflamingo could start turning everything into string, Luffy can start turning everything into rubber. So it's kind of funny because on the one hand, this is like a totally reasonable thing to be happening within lore, but on the other, just the visual of it, of him being like uh-oh, and pulling up the ground like it's a carpet, and the energy blast bouncing off the carpet, it's like pure Looney Tunes, right? Like it's all the way back to Tezuka. That Tezuka would make these sorts of almost fourth wall breaking jokes where the characters fought in ways that just made no earthly sense. So it's like, I just love it because like all these other shonen series, as they build up their power levels, it becomes more and more like grave, more and more, devastating. Oh man, that could wipe out a city. But here it's like this ultimate power of Luffy's has just unlocked this joy and creativity, not just for him, but for the way the story itself is depicted. Look at this. Oh, this is so wild. Oh my god. This is just so wild. I like here too Kaido apologizing that the stupid idiot from CP0 interfered with the fight, and that he's really happy that they can get a second chance to go at it. This is gonna be nuts. I'm fully anticipating that this will be one of my favorite fights of the whole series. And it really feels like so earned, Okay, so chapter 145, I think, is already in spoilers, but I'm going to keep reading it as it comes out on the official app. Just because, I don't know, I'll just do my best not to get spoiled before then. And I want to support the Viz app. I've been even through the whole year where I wasn't reading manga, I still subscribe to it every month because it's just the best deal in internet content, hands down. And if you love manga, you should definitely consider it if it's available in your country. Yeah, oh man, I'm really glad to be back. I can't promise that we're going to go full out into manga reading videos, just because I'm extremely busy and a lot of stuff is going on. One Piece was kind of an exception that I knew that it would help me if I made the time to get caught up on it. And I knew that it would be a really fun experience making this video, and it was. So at the very least, I really want to keep reading One Piece in videos because shit's getting crazy. And then hopefully we can start making time to get caught up on other series too and start making videos about the latest chapters in that again. Let me know if there's series in particular you really want me to focus on when I have time. yeah, I'm really glad to be back and sharing this absolutely monumental development in this series that we've all loved for so many years together. Okay, goodbye for now.